So 46 people see a man get murdered outside of a bar, and no one tells the police anything.
Yeah, they all kept it quiet. It seemed like they might have been in cahoots.
In cahoots. Yeah, this week is things I learned last night, and this week we are learning about the story of Skidmore, Missouri, a town that banded together against Ken McElroy. Well, we don't know if they banded together.
McElroy.
Allegedly banned together against Ken McElroy, who was terrorizing the town and mysteriously got shot outside of a bar in front of 46 people who all saw what happened, but the FBI closed the case because none of the eyewitnesses will talk about what they saw. Mm-hmm. So this is a podcast where we learn a lot of stuff and we laugh a lot, and it's a really good time. Thanks for checking it out.
Awesome.
This weekend, I will be...
Where are you at?
What's that?
Where are you at?
Today
October 15th.
is October 15th. So this weekend I will be in Lynchburg, Virginia at Liberty University. And
Liberty,
next weekend, Liberty Bibberty. Next weekend I will be in Massachusetts. And that's a great time. And then the weekend after that, I'll be in Canada, Tabor, Alberta. So
Canada.
And honestly, Tabor, Alberta, I've been there before, is a lot like Skidmore, Missouri. Very small town.
Very small town.
So,
interesting. Well, be careful if you see a
knows
crowd of
everybody.
40 or 46 people.
Sometimes you want to go where everyone conspires against you. Bum, 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 bum. Let's get to the episode.
All right, yeah. Hey, man.
What's up?
Have you ever heard of Ken McElroy?
Ken. First of all, I'm pretty sure it's called McElroy.
Yeah, it is McElroy. You're right.
Because you know the rule on Mick, right? On Mick or
no, what's
Mac?
the rule on Mick?
If it's MC and then if like so it's like McDonald's, right? Yeah. So we don't say McDonald's, we say McDonald's.
That's right. You're right.
Because whatever follows the C, if it's a consonant, then it's Mick. If it's a vowel, then it's Mac.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I've never heard that rule before.
Yeah.
Well, Ken McElroy.
So we kept calling him John McAfee, but we're saying McAfee.
McAfee.
Should be
yeah, because everyone says McAfee.
Should be
John
McAfee.
Yeah. But everybody always said though with this software, everyone called it McAfee. No one called it McAfee.
It's supposed to be McAfee.
Interesting.
We were wrong.
Yeah. Well, he was wrong.
So this is McElroy.
Yeah. This is Ken McElroy, Ken Rex McElroy, not to be mistaken with Ken McElroy. This is Ken McElroy. You don't want to mix the two.
Don't want to talk about this guy.
We're not talking about Ken
this
McElroy.
Guy, what is this guy, the Golden Bachelor? What is this?
It's close. He is a real estate investor, and he's got like a podcast or something about real estate investments. He's close friends with the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so he's one of those,
which I hate that guy now. Anyway.
Yeah, so not that Ken McElroy. We're talking about this Ken McElroy. Ken
the person
Rex.
or the dog?
He's the dog. Ken Rex. You don't get a name like Rex without being a dog.
Just from first glance, I'm going to guess that he's a amateur wrestler.
Oh, that's an interesting guess. Ken Rex McElroy.
Rex?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting guess.
It's Rex. W-R-E.
Like he wrecks stuff. I love that. Well, on July 10th, 1981, Ken Rex McElroy and his wife, Trina, they went to the local, I don't know what the name of the place was. It's like a local bar.
Okay.
In their hometown. Not their hometown, but the town they lived in, Skidmore, Missouri. Which, have you ever heard of Skidmore, Missouri?
I have heard of Skidmore.
Skidmore is a big town. And by big town, I mean, there it is. It's very small. Yeah. It's 0.3 square miles.
I think I know what happens here.
Really? Interesting. Well, it's 0.3 square miles, population of 245.
I think I know what happens. Cool. Great. Thanks.
It's a very
small town.
Very small town. 240 people. They're at the local bar.
Where is it at in the state of Missouri?
Northwest. Basically Nebraska.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's way up there.
Yeah.
And so they go to this local bar, and
as they're walking out,
they walk out, they sit down in his truck, and they're sitting in his truck waiting to leave. A crowd forms outside, about 46 people, somewhere in that ballpark.
40 to 46.
42 to 46 people are out in outside this pub. and a series of shots rings out.
Right.
Two of them strike Ken and kill him. Several shots get fired, but two of them strike him and kill him. They were fired from two separate rifles, is what's interesting.
Yeah.
One was a center fire rifle. The other was a .22 rimfire rifle.
Oh, he's hit with bullets from different guns.
With different guns, yeah. Right. They found the casings. They found the actual bullets within him.
So he lives in Skidmore.
Yeah.
He and his wife go out to the bar.
Yeah.
When they leave, a crowd surrounds their car.
I don't know if I would say surrounds their car. A crowd is there. A crowd is present outside the bar already. They're there when they leave.
And then gunshots.
Then from behind their car. Yeah. They're all from behind them. So their car's not surrounded. The crowd's behind them outside the bar. They get in their car. They're getting ready to go. And then the shots ring out.
Okay.
What's interesting is this crowd of people, dozens of people there. Nobody calls an ambulance. Mm-hmm. Nobody calls for help. And in fact, nobody identifies a shooter. The police try to do this investigation, try to look for people to come forward to identify who took the shot. No one can come forward and identify. The only person who's testifying is Trina, his wife, who was in the car.
Yeah.
And so they're not able to get a good report of what happened. And eventually, after investigating for a long time, trying to work with the town to try to figure out what happens, the FBI closes the case because they say we can't get any solid evidence on what happens here. And it gets shut down and goes down as an unsolved murder. This was in 1981, and it still hasn't been solved to this day. Despite
40 plus witnesses.
40 to 46 people being present to watch the thing.
So
unfold.
A crowd of 46 people.
Not to mention, this is if you look at the map, if you look where Skidmore City Hall is there, across the street, that little town like diagonal and down, that's where they are. And so this town, if you're going north, is where they're parked. And so there's all the other things that are in this town right around there.
Right.
And so people who weren't in that crowd probably saw what happened.
Right.
Because there's not much happening in the city. The rest of the city is just houses. This is where everything happens, is right here in this little block. So there's probably other witnesses as well that weren't a part of that crowd. But no one comes forward and no one says what happened. And so it leads you to wonder why.
Sure.
So let's take a look at the story of Ken's life and see what led us to this moment and see if we can figure out how we got here.
How two separate people murdered him.
Yeah, two separate people. Well, it very much looks like, unless someone was holding two separate rifles and nobody noticed. Yeah. Nobody in this crowd of 46 was like, it might have been the guy standing like this.
With two guns.
It might have been that guy. You see anyone with two guns that day?
Yeah.
No, actually, I didn't see anything.
Okay, so this is clearly, though, so I know this story. I don't know what happens. I don't know why.
What do you know of this story?
I just know that there was 46 witnesses. There's 46 people who saw this man get murdered, and no one is talking.
Yeah.
For 40 plus years, no one says anything.
Yeah.
And refuses to talk about it.
Yes. Yeah.
And so the whole town basically conspired together because this guy was a bully of some sort, right?
Yeah, that's close. That's really close.
Okay.
I don't know if bully's the word I would use. I see the word bully thrown out a lot, but I don't think bully is the right word for him.
Okay.
So anyways, let's just walk through the timeline of Ken's life and to see what led us to this situation.
Sure. So there's a documentary about this.
Yes, there's a lot of things about this.
Okay.
June 16th, 1934, Ken is born.
Okay.
To his parents, Mabel and Tony McElroy. He's one of 14 kids.
Whoa. Guys. Holy cow, man.
Yeah. He was born in Overland Park, Kansas, but this was 1930s. So that was rural Kansas at the time. It was not what it is today. And they lived on a farm. They had a 1 mile by 1 mile farm. Small little farm that they lived on. And he spends his youth working on the farm, doing physical labor and stuff like that. As a teenager in the 40s, he's a little bit of a rascal. He does small time theft, but nothing super serious.
Sure.
Just kind of rascal behavior, especially for the 40s. 40s, just a little bit of shoplifting was kind of what the kids
rascal.
did.
The soda pop guy hates when he sees Ken McElroy coming over to my soda pop shop. Because I bet he's going to do some rascaling here. He comes in, he sticks his hand in my candy jar. There's no telling how many jelly beans he took. And after years of watching this rapscallion take my beans and bite them, I has to have done something about
something.
So I followed he and his lady. I found out where they was living. And then I followed them for 4 more years. Until one day, I has 2 rifles.
This is for stealing me soda pops.
And I loudly said, I don't care who sees me do it. I'm a shooting Ken McElroy. But it turns out he was stealing them people's jelly beans too.
He's been stealing jelly beans all those years.
And you know what happens to the jelly bean thieves. How long are we going to do this character? A while. A long time.
Are you finished?
I think I'm done.
So he gets into some rascaling in the 40s.
Sure.
He turns 18 in 52 and marries his girlfriend, who at the time was 16. And they moved to Colorado together. Normal in the 50s. And so they moved to Colorado.
Finally, we've been trying to get her married for 2 years.
They moved to Colorado, and
that's how they had 14 kids. They literally had to start real young.
They moved to Colorado following his sister's husband, who moved out to Colorado, started a construction company, and he's working construction with them out in Colorado.
Okay.
And while he's there,
and this is Trina that he's married?
No,
it's different.
This is a girl named Oleta.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna last.
Oleta. What's the rule there?
What's it? Macoletta?
Oleta. Oleta
McElroy.
This is the worst. Oleta McElroy and Ken.
There's a documentary about this. There's podcasts about this. If you don't like the way we're telling this story,
find the way someone else tells it.
That's my message. Don't leave a review. We're not going to get better.
Yeah. Leave a review.
Your 1-star review is not making us better at this podcast. Yeah. Do you understand?
It's making us more the way we are.
I see your 1-star comments. I dig my heels in, and I keep doing what I've been doing.
I'm going to find you in a crowd of 46 people.
I'm going to find where you live. And I was going to come over to your house and I'm going to say, hey, did you leave a 1-star review on my podcast?
And they say, oh my gosh, how did you find me? Please get out of my house.
I found you.
This is insane.
And eyes like a word. If you want to step outside.
I like the concept of this. I like the concept of someone leaving a 1-star review on something and the person tracking them
What
down.
I want to do for a TV show, what I would love to do is hate comments. I would love to do a show called Hate Comments, where it's like Catfish, where I track down the person who left the comment and then we have it printed out on a postcard. And this isn't my hate comments. This is somebody else's hate comments. This is that girl who makes coffee. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
The 30-year-old. Yeah. We take her to all the people who made the hate comments and we hand them the comment that they made and we go, read it to her face.
Read it to her. Yeah.
Say that to her face.
I love that idea. We should 100% do that. Support on Patreon so we can do this. Yeah, there it is. That's
a great show. It's a great series.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, some people are going to learn. And if you don't, we break your knees right in front of the person.
Say it.
Say it.
I think you need to say the card. I'm sorry, what? I said, I think you need to say the card. Okay.
So while he's working at construction.
Hate from Des Moines, Iowa. We found you.
We found you.
And you thought we wouldn't because you put Des Moines, but we knew you were in Cedar Rapids.
Hey, if you've been watching for a minute and you like this show, a great way to help out is by becoming a Patreon supporter. Our patrons get a ton of perks for their support. They get ad-free episodes a week early. They get a Discord with our hosts and producers. We do monthly hangouts. There's a way to get birthday messages on your birthday. There's a lot of great perks, but more than anything, you just help make sure that this show continues to happen forever. We never want to stop. We're going to keep doing this forever. If we have enough patron supporters, we can put our brains in those little vats and have AI pretend it's us. And so we can keep doing it long after we die. But that only happens if you support us on Patreon. So we appreciate your support. Thanks for your help. If you don't want to support, that's totally fine. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate you watching this show. So while he's in Colorado, he's working for his sister's husband's construction company, and he suffers a traumatic head injury. And his personality starts to shift.
I've told you about the girl in my hometown who I had to block on Facebook and stuff because she would keep commenting. She was going through all my posts and just saying she would just take the counter of whatever I was saying. She was just being annoying, being you're a jerk, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Eventually I blocked her, but she's a barista, the one coffee shop in my hometown.
Yeah.
And so when I do go in there, I tip very generously. It feels weird. I see her and I go, and she's always
like, what you said.
Yeah, it really does feel like that.
Yeah.
Because I go in, I get my little iced vanilla latte. I go, yes, I want an iced vanilla latte. And she goes, okay. And makes it. She goes, okay, it's $4. And I'm just like, all right, thanks. And it's so...
Just pretends like she didn't say all those crappy things.
I don't even think she pretends it. There's a tension for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It feels weird.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. That's a weird small town culture thing. And I think the internet has made it so much weirder because in small towns, we've always known, for my entire childhood, we've always known that people talk about other people. And that's just what, know.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge pressure when you grow up in a small town like Skidmore. What's the population of Skidmore? It's smaller than Mount Vernon. Yeah. Skidmore is like Miller next to us, right? Small town. And there's always a pressure to behave a certain way. Really, it's almost like playing a social game on Big Brother. Where it's just there's some things where I'm just going to take this behavior from you, even though I want to be like, hey, don't treat me like this.
Yeah.
That would cause me more problems.
Yeah.
For me to call this out.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to let you behave that way.
Yeah.
Because it's easier for me just to deal with this and separate.
Yeah.
But then the internet exists where now they're commenting those things and posting that stuff.
There's kind of that security.
And you're just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I don't even think, I don't even know what, I don't understand what it is. I know this is a tangent.
I think it's the fact that it's you don't have to see the other person on the other side. You don't have to recognize that's a person.
A guy in my town got something stolen from him, and he knew who stole it.
Yeah.
So he put on Facebook and he said, if anyone can give me the address for this person, I have a reward. They stole this from me and I want to get it back.
Interesting.
And I messaged.
Yeah.
And was like, hey man, call the police.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What kind of Wild West?
Yeah, you're just going to show up at their house and be like, hey, I know you stole this.
That's what he was he was like, if anybody can get this back, I will give a reward.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what the police are for, you dummy.
Yeah, that is kind of insane.
Don't put out online and be like, hey, if someone can go get this.
Yeah.
Or find, it was a girl, her address.
Yeah.
I'm like, what kind of broken...
Yeah.
How many worms are in your brain for that to happen? You know?
That's interesting.
So what I'm saying is I understand the small town politics that come into Skidmore is what I was trying to get at.
That is interesting. I don't know if this is so much small town politics. You'll find out as we look at
Sure. But I understand.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
I understand there being 40 people who are like, we're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I get how that comes to be. Because it's hard for some people to be like, how did 40 people see that? And it's like, dude, in a small town, we all know each other.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
there's no strangers. Yeah.
There are definitely, now that I'm an adult in my small town, there are definitely looks at like football games and stuff where things happen or things are said, you overhear someone say, and like you lock eyes with that person that you know has like been outside of your hometown.
Yeah.
And is like, and you guys do that look across where you just go,
oof.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are quiet
acknowledgements of what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So it's 54. He's working in Colorado for this construction company. He suffers a traumatic head injury and his personality sort of shifts.
Yeah, for sure.
He gets CTE and he becomes a different person. We don't know.
Really get CTE?
No, we don't know I don't know if there was ever a diagnosis. He hurt his head.
They didn't start diagnosing that stuff until later.
Well, what I'm saying is I don't know if he went to the doctor. He hurt his head and he said his head hurt the rest of his life. But like it's the 50s and he's at work at construction. He's like, "Ow, I hurt my head." And he's like, "Let's go back to work."
And they're like, "Suck it up."
And he's sitting there hammering like the nails over here. And he's like, "Why won't this nail go in?" And they're like, "Get out of here, you're fired."
He's got the nail and he's just sounds like that'd be probably easier if you had a hammer in your hand.
He's hitting it with his knuckle.
He's
like, "This hammer hurts my knuckle."
He just thinks there's a hammer in his hand. He's just
and then they fired him because they're like, "All of a sudden you're bad at this job."
Yeah, like, it's not like hey, there's something wrong.
Yeah,
it's like, man,
it's like, why'd you get so bad?
Suddenly isn't good at this anymore.
Ken suddenly sucks at construction.
Yeah. I told him to go down in the store. He hopped in the passenger seat. Thought that was the driver's side.
Yeah.
Man.
He started making the driving sounds with his mouth. And I'm like, "You haven't left yet." And he's like, "I've been gone for 30 minutes. I'm on my way to the store."
Ken, what are you? I don't know. Enter a word that they said back then.
We can't say any of them now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are you? Like they were just like, he's dumb now.
Yeah, he's
Get
dumb.
out of here.
So yeah, he hurts his head.
Scram.
And then the next year or two.
And then there's the. Wise, I was gonna take my revenge for my jelly beans today, but then I saw that he got fired from that job.
And so I figured I gotta wait a little longer.
Wait a little longer.
Can't stack it.
I honestly figured the head injury would do it itself.
So they decided to move back home. Eventually, they settle in Skidmore, Missouri. Him and his wife, because he can't find work anywhere. Everyone's like, "You're dumb."
This is Oleta.
Yeah, him and his wife Oleta. And so in '58, a few years later, they've been in Missouri for 2 or 3 years. Ken somehow meets another woman named Sharon. And starts seeing her. And so he divorces Oleta, marries Sharon. And the marriage wasn't a marriage because he was in love with Sharon and wanted to marry her. It was because he thought that if he was married to Sharon, then that would get him out of an assault charge because he shot at Sharon during an argument. And so he's like, "Let's get married so that way I can't get in trouble for shooting at you." It's the 50s.
When ladies complain about dating now.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. And so
I did shoot at my wife a couple weeks ago, though. And she deserved it. All right. Like, that's so crazy, dude. That's wild.
Yeah, but we're married. You can't charge me for that. That might have actually been a small town Missouri in the 50s.
Civil dispute. Like it's what do they call it? It's a
I don't know what they call it. I think they call it abuse.
Domestic dispute?
Domestic abuse.
Well, yeah, that's what it is.
But yeah,
he was just doing it to scare her. You know, he was just shooting a gun behind. It's like the monkey episode.
Yeah. You scared? And so they're married for 2 years, and he starts seeing another girl by the name of Sally, and they're dating, and he actually moves her into their house. And so now Sally and Sharon both live in the house with him.
Bro, here is the thing about some of these things, okay? If you're a single guy, there's somebody out there who will just lower your standards a bit.
Yeah.
You'll find a Sharon. You'll find because like he's not like a hot guy.
No.
He's not like This is crazy to me.
Yeah. No, don't worry.
That is crazy to me.
Don't worry. It gets way worse.
Okay.
So So yeah, he moves in his girlfriend Sally. They're both living there. Has a couple of kids.
Well, and
with
Sharon,
both of them.
He has a couple kids with who?
Both of them. In 64, so it's been about 4 years.
Sure.
64, he meets another girl by the name of Alice. So he leaves Sharon.
In Skidmore.
Yeah.
There are 200 people in this town. This is what I'm saying. This defies the small town politics. You're not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And so Ken meets this other girl, Alice. So he leaves Sharon, moves in with Alice's house, takes Sally with him though. After Sally has 3 kids though, he kicks her out of the house. And so now it's just him and Alice, and Sally got kicked out. And then their kids, I guess, are still there.
Okay.
Meanwhile, he's still thieving. He's stealing beers. He's stealing
beers and beans.
He's stealing beers, jelly beans, cigarettes, gasoline. He's just stealing stuff all around town all the time.
And this is, again, against small town politics. You can't do that crap.
Yeah.
That's one of the people are like, oh, crime is so much better in small towns. It's like, yeah, dude, like we can watch you drive to your house after you stole this front. Like, your house is on the same street.
I mean, look at this town. You think you're gonna get away with anything?
That's what I'm saying.
Town? like you're not gonna. There's nowhere to go.
Oh, we have a neighborhood watch. It's like we are a neighborhood. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and we can see everything.
Yeah.
We can see the end of the city from our block in all directions.
And when you're a kid, you just stare at the end of the city and you think about all the dreams that might come true. And one day you might just keep walking. You're going to walk and then keep walking straight out of the end of the city. But then you go, well, where do I even go? Where's the next closest town? I don't even know who I would know there. I don't have 3 moms in the next town.
So here's a difficult part of the story. Here's a difficult part of the story. In 1970, Ken becomes involved with a young girl by the name of Trina. Trina is 20 years younger than him. He's 34. And has an illegal, inappropriate relationship with her. Her parents are very against this. Very, very against this. And so he does a normal thing and he burns their house down and kills their dog. And they say, okay, you can date our daughter, I guess.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I should say too, the way this relationship started, he followed the school bus around and he intimidated the school bus driver into pulling over so he could meet her. Very sketchy. So a very, very not okay. Intimidates her parents into letting him date her, and then marries her so that way it's not illegal.
Whole thing is
so marries her, moves her in with him and Alice, and so now there's
so wild.
And so Alice is like, we need to get away from this man. He's a psychopath. And so Alice
to Trina, she says that?
Alice takes her and Trina and they run away, and so he in response goes and burns down Trina's parents' new house and shoots their new dog. And so Trina moves back in.
And they're like, we didn't do any of this. This is Alice's fault.
Yeah, why are you? Alice is the one who ran away. And so he marries Trina, or he already married Trina.
Wow, this story got so much. Sorry that I accused him of stealing jelly beans. Honestly, I wish that's what he was doing.
That's all he was doing. Yeah. So Trina moves in with him, and it's interesting if you see Trina tell the story. Trina's very much kind of like a lot of grandmas nowadays, where you meet grandma and you're like, wait, hold on, grandpa did what?
She's like, hey, kicked down the door at the bar, came over, planted one on me, and I didn't look back since. I was married to somebody else at the time.
Yeah, and so she talks about him like they were actually in love. Like she actually really cared about him.
He saw me walking, he swerved and hit me with his car, and and I was like, wow, any guy who's willing to go that far for my attention,
Yeah.
And I played hard to get.
So
I was like, oh, I'm stuck under here, and I was. and so he had to back out, broke my hip. But
broke my hip.
But
But then
when
he apologized.
You know.
And the way he apologized was just
but then he
sweet.
shot near me.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to marry that man.
And my parents couldn't afford a fourth house. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Wanted to let you know real quick, we have an email list, and it's not like hey, we're going to send you our merch and new episodes all the time. We actually give you updates on these stories as we find out about them. So a lot of our episodes we've done a couple of years ago now have updates, or the person the topic was about passed away or was caught by the police, or whatever updates we can find on episodes that we've done. We want to let you know about it so that our episodes just aren't, out there out of date. It's a really fun way to keep learning new information. And then every once in a while, we let you know about new events coming up or new episodes. And it's just a way to help us keep spreading this show. Join that email list. You can text TILLN to 66866, or there's a link in the description of this episode, or you can just go to TILLN.com. It's very easy to join this email list. It's everywhere. It's actually really hard to not join it. So... How did you know Grandpa was the one? Well, when he burned down my parents' house.
Wait, what?
Oh, honey.
You'll understand one day.
Oh, he broke up with you through text? I freaking wish. If that's the worst thing, then suck it up. It's how it's so easy these days. He cheated on me. He burned down my parents' house twice.
Fast forward to 1980.
But yeah, you're right. We did have better mortgage rates, and minimum wage was more of a dent. I will concede the fact that there were elements of my life that were easier, as long as you concede the fact that there were elements of my life that were much, much worse.
So by 1980, Ken has been charged with 21 felonies.
Oh my God.
And he has been convicted of 0 of them. Because in every case...
He burns down the prosecutor's house.
Yeah, in every case, he intimidates people out of the charge. Yeah. And so he follows people around. He sits outside their house. And I mean, to be fair, look at this picture. This guy sits outside your house with his dog. And he's burnt down people's houses. He's shot at his wife. What he's done. And so he gets away with all this stuff.
Yeah, but he's not a good shot.
So by 1980, 21 charges, never been convicted of any of them. Okay. Claims that his lawyer is one of the mob's lawyers down in Kansas City. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But he brags that he can get away with anything. He's like, I can do whatever I want.
It would make sense that he's got connections. I mean, it's right here.
Yeah. And so 1980 rolls around. He's got 10 kids now, from 5 different wives, I believe. Or I shouldn't say wife, 5 different women. Not all of them were his wife. And so a couple of his children go to the local grocery store in town and is accused of stealing by Mrs. Bowenkamp, the lady who owns the store. Her and her husband own the store. Her husband's name, I can't find record of it. He goes by Bo Bowenkamp, which I love. Sure. Very small town thing. Bo Bowenkamp. And so accuses them of stealing. And so Ken then starts threatening the family because he's like, well, of course my kids stole. They're my kids.
Yeah, I told him.
Have you seen the things I do?
I said, just go down there, grab a handful of jelly beans. Just do it. Or else.
And so the Bowenkamps go to the police. They file a legal proceeding against Ken and the kids for robbery or sin or whatever. And so then Ken stalks the family, the Bowenkamp family, and outside the store one day, he shoots at Bo and he hits him in the neck. He doesn't kill him, but he does hit him. And so Ken finally gets arrested. He goes to trial and he gets charged with attempted murder. He spends a year
over his kids getting accused. He's like, don't you accuse my kids of stealing. They're fine citizens.
Yeah, exactly. Shoots him in the neck. And so Ken is sentenced to 2 years.
CTE for sure.
2 years in prison. A year later, he's out on bail, awaiting an appeal hearing because he's appealing it. Immediately, the day he gets out on bail, he goes to the local bar with an illegally acquired firearm. And he goes in there and he starts threatening Bowenkamp, like graphically threatening him. It's an M1 Garand rifle with a bayonet on it. And he's like threatening him inside the store with this rifle, in the bar with this rifle, graphically talking about what he's going to do to him and what he's going to do to his body afterwards. And it's like really graphic. And so as a result, and I'm confused about why this happened.
Bo was like, I'm going to drop the charges.
Well, as a result, what happens is they decide to delay his appeal hearing and then turn it into a bond and schedule a bond hearing. So his appeal gets delayed. He then has a bond hearing that pops up. And so now his time out on bail is extended. I think it's like a weird legal loophole. They're like, well, you broke your bond. Or you broke
your bail.
Because you have the gun.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed. And so now we have to have a separate hearing for that. And then we're going to have your appeal. And so I think it was like a weird legal loophole. But essentially he gets to be out for longer. And so.
Well, that's good to know.
So a week later.
You're out on parole.
A week later, the first week of July, the people of Skidmore are now very frustrated about the failures of the justice system to protect them against Ken. They're like, Ken is terrorizing the town, and he has been for 2 decades. And so they get together as a group, and they say, hey, next week, July 10th, we're going to...
They get together as a group?
Yeah, they said we're going to gather at the local Legion Hall.
Okay,
and we're going to
let's get together. They all show up. Ken shows up. He's like, hey, I heard about the meeting.
I heard what I'm telling you. Who told Ken to come?
Yeah, Ken. We're just working on who did this?
And so
we were thinking about putting a statue of the Mothman downtown and wanted to hold a vote. All in favor? No? All right, that makes sense. We've never seen him here.
That does, yeah. Why would we do that here?
All right, everybody go home. All right, let's never meet here again, especially not next Tuesday at 7. There's a private event happening here.
Anyone would ever meet here for any reason ever again.
On Tuesday at 7, coffee and refreshments provided.
They will not be provided because there's not going to be anything happening here. There's also going to be so many jelly beans.
There's a lot of jelly beans on the opposite side of town. There's an unattended jar of jelly beans.
There's gallons of jelly beans at the other end of town.
Oh, we've just voted that July 9th is Jelly Bean Day in Skidmore, where we empty the water tower and fill it with jelly beans.
And then all the police have to leave town.
That's our bean bucket. And so we love them.
Bean bucket.
Bean
bucket. Now that's a small town thing.
Bean bucket.
Most people don't know that that's a small town thing.
We just voted jelly bean making days. All right. On the town square, it's going to be a lot of arts and crafts, and the whole town goes bean bucket, bean bucket, bean bucket, bean bucket. And then we have these little things you can buy. They're like shaped like flowers, but they're made of jelly beans. It's a bean bouquet.
Bean bouquet.
Bean bouquet. Bean bouquet. You know?
Yeah.
Don't even think about breaking into my bean bucket.
So they're at the Legion Hall and they're meeting and they're trying to come up with what can we do?
What can we do to
deal with this problem?
Yeah.
And the sheriff's there. Dan Estes is his name. The local sheriff, the mayor of the town is there. And the mayor and the sheriff are saying we need to come up with.
How did they pull this off without him getting wind?
So they're like, we need to come up with a legal way we can deal with this. And so they proposed a neighborhood watch. And so they're putting together plans to put together a neighborhood watch so that way they can kind of just, honestly, it sounds like the neighborhood watch is we're going to watch everything Ken does. And whenever we see him, we're just going to tell the police where he's at and what he's doing. So we can be ahead of him. And then news hits.
I'm not going to intervene. He's setting another house on fire.
And so someone in the Legion Hall, remember, this is a small town. You can see everything from everywhere in this little downtown area. Someone in the Legion Hall is like, hey, Ken just pulled up to the bar with Trina. And Dan...
Let's go handle this right now.
Well, here's the thing. Dan, the sheriff, and the mayor... They both say, I'm not kidding. They say, all right, meeting's adjourned. Remember, we need to handle this in a legal manner. And they leave town. They go out of town. The mayor and the sheriff. And of course...
So they pull up to the bar. The gathering was them gathering to figure out what to do about him.
Yeah, they were gathering to come up with a way to figure out what to do.
And then they happen to pull up to the bar next door.
Yeah. And then everybody in the bar is like...
The 40 to 46 people who were in the vicinity was because they had gathered...
to figure out what they were going to do about this.
And then the sheriff was like, I think we should handle this in a legal and safe and not killing him way.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a cruise.
The mayor and I have tickets to Carnival Cruise right now. We're leaving town.
Yeah.
And we'll be gone for the next
ports out of
6 hours.
Kansas City.
And so they leave town. They get in their car. They drive outside of town. And then the 40 people walk outside and they wait outside the bar. And then they walk out. Here's their car parked at the bar. And so they're waiting like right across the street. They get in their car, and then, of course, we know what happens. And so here's the aftermath.
Oh, wow.
And so they did it. But everybody in the town, I mean, and now that you hear the story, you're kind of like, yeah, I kind of get why no one would talk about it. And there's interviews after the fact, like years later, there's like 60 Minutes and all sorts of things that have covered the story.
Right.
They interviewed Dan, the sheriff, and you can tell when he talks.
Like, I wasn't there.
He's like, I've interviewed everyone. I've interviewed all the witnesses. No one will fess up and tell me who was involved and what happened. And you kind of tell by tone of voice that it's like, he's like, no one's telling me. Like, I can't do it. My hands are tied. I've taken the investigation as far as I can take it.
I was out of town.
Yeah, I was out of town. I wasn't there. I've asked. No one will tell me. Like, I've taken the legal process as far as I can take it. We had a crisis in
town, and at the peak of that crisis, I, the sole person responsible for the safety of the well-being of my citizens, left.
I went to...
And while I was gone, something happened to the one danger to my...
Yeah. About 15 minutes after I left town. And so, the case ended up being dropped. A few years later, a book was written about this, and then a movie was produced called In Broad Daylight. You might have heard of it. This is the true story of what happened.
Wow.
And that's Ken Rex McElroy. Ken McElroy, very different guy. Also, McElroy. I mean, McElroy. Ken McElroy.
Yeah.
The real estate investor. Don't know much about him, but he's a real estate investor. Also, probably sucks.
But
not in the same way that Ken Rex. Ken Rex sucks way worse.
I actually did not know the rest of that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if you think about it in context.
He really kind of was a town bully, but also like very dangerous.
Worse than a bully. Like way worse. It wasn't just like he was terrorizing. Like he was literally he was burning people's houses down. He was like stealing people's daughters essentially. Like it was like not okay.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. A really rough guy. And the whole town banded together to say, we got to get rid of this guy. Nuts.
Wow.
Ken McElroy.
McElroy.
But what's wild is everybody talks about they were there that day. Very few people will talk about what happened that day.
You said what's wild?
Yeah, what's wild?
Okay, I thought you said what's mild. And I was like, that's actually pretty funny. What's mild, though?
What's mild about this is nobody would really talk about the events of what happened that day.
Yeah.
Except for the one detail that they talk about is they say, well, the one thing I remember, we're in this crowd, there's 40 to 46 of us in this crowd.
We were in the Legion. We were in the Legion Hall. Someone was like, does anybody got any ideas of what we could do to defeat him? And someone was like, why don't we do a Fiddle Off? And someone's like, it's Fiddle Off.
It's Fiddle Off. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode of Things I Learned Last Night. If you liked the show and you want more of it, you can join us on Patreon and get next week's episode right now. Or you can go back and listen to our back catalog. We've got almost 200 episodes that have been released. One, if you like this story, there's one that's kind of similar. A guy named Mike Malloy, his friends...
McElroy.
No, stop. Malloy. Good
McElroy.
night, Mike Malloy and his friends took out an insurance policy on him and then tried to kill him. But Mike would not die. Refused to pass away. So it's a great episode. It's linked somewhere wherever you're listening or watching. It's somewhere there. Thanks for supporting our show. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week on Things I Learned Last Night.